For all the latest reviews, interviews, and everything entertainment in Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam, and Telugu, subscribe to Film Companion South now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Film Companions Malayalam Roundtable 2021. This is the first time we're doing such a roundtable for a separate industry. We're doing it for all the industries, southern industries. So, welcome everyone. Because Darshana's in Bombay, we're doing this via Zoom. So, Darshana, you get the blame for the non-live reason of this
I'll take
interview
it.
session. Yes. One of the most significant things that has happened to the Malayalam film industry during the pandemic and really is that those of us in the South already knew that you were the best mainstream industry in the country, but this knowledge has spread a little more in terms of people because of OTT. Why do you think this industry is able to produce good movies, good mainstream films with such consistency? What is it?
I think it's a kind of local nature. Like I have a thing which I don't follow this thing, but my contemporary filmmakers always follow this. I'm so proud of that. So it is about however local you go, that much rooted you get. That much that is the essence of the film. Like for example, if a film set in like Arkariyam, set in town like Papala or somewhere there, and there is a story of migrants. They have migrated from here to Bombay, and then they're coming back for a specific reason because it can be pandemic or some other reason. But I'm telling you, they're coming back, and so the culture itself is that setting. See, otherwise it's all template. It's all template, how the normal regular cinema functions and all. I still believe that I still make films on those kind of templates. I'm still trying to break it out, but it's not possible. And this was initially there in Malayalam cinema much before, like during the 80s. If you look at it, it was there, evidently there, but we missed out somehow. I don't know why, because it is of course because of the wide acceptance which has been received after the television industry getting back in form. It's more about the soapy content what we started making, and then again with the kind of I'm not against the absurd humor and all, but it is good also in one way or the other. But if it's not relatable, if it's not connecting anything to the adding too much to real life, then there is no point in doing so. So the industry had a very downside when you look at those kind of films which happened during the 90s to the early 2000s also. We can say, I'm not against those films. It has to be there.
Right.
But the problem is, the industry was filled with all those films. So now it is a time where all are looking at this kind of essence going backwards. How Malayalam cinema used to function during the 80s, whether it's Padmarajan or K.G. George or Bharathan or Mohan or any director. There are endless filmmakers there. And all filmmakers had a very true literature background also. The writers were all from literature. If you look at Padmarajan sir, he writes his short stories and novels in a format where, where it is very close to literature, and that when it comes to screenplay, it is entirely different. Different in the sense he keep the essence the same, but it's very relatable to common people. It's the connect between the middle. So that was supposed to be the midstream. It is neither parallel nor the mainstream. There was a clear midstream. So now that is what I think the new age filmmakers in Malayalam right now are exploring, this midstream so well. So that's how with the beginning of this OTT thing, I think this midstream has got wider acceptance. It's not that during the olden times, some of these films will be watched only in festivals. There is no practice of doing subtitles and all. So only if it is okay, if it's been sent to a National Film Archive or for some national awards and all, then only they are getting subtitles. Otherwise, there's no subtitles also. So that's the thing. So that area has been trying to be we are trying to experiment with that area, and a lot of content is happening in that area. So I think that's the reach.
Yeah, I totally agree with Mahesh in it really makes sense what he's saying. Like for a while we had a certain kind of films, and we were quite saturated with that kind of category. But now we have a mixed bag, which has a lot of content driven films coming in. So it's catering to every category here, and it has a nice rooted essence to everything. So it's relatable and it's entertaining at the same time. So I think that is a huge point why we are making certain films and it's working here. So
right. So
totally
you're
agree
saying
with
when you're making a movie like Saras, which was your big film this year, that film technically could be set in any corner of India, right? Or it's not a specifically Malayali problem. It could be set in any middle class kind of a household with an independent minded woman and all that kind of stuff. What makes it Malayali in nature for you? What makes that film a Malayalam film for you? Apart from the language, of course.
I think it has to be the characters involved, the specific characters that's set around Sarah. It's very relatable to the Malayali audience, In every household, you can find a mom who is always a little emotional and melodramatic, and then there will be an auntie who likes to point out things. I think that's a very Malayali aspect of the film. But I believe it's more than just a Malayalam film. Like you said, it's very, it connects to every woman out there, especially in that age category. I think in most of the middle class family, that question's been raised and that discussion's been happening. And after the film got released, that's the feedback I got, not just from the Malayali audience, but in general. I've had couples come to me, older and younger couples, even. They both had they had all these stories to tell me about how they face these questions. So the Malayali aspect would be those the characters, but I generally think that it's like widely accepted.
It's a universal kind of thing.
Yeah.
Don?
I agree to Mahesh, what he said in the beginning about, how we make films that are rooted to our culture in Kerala. But I think I still believe that there's, we still have a long way to go because in the last 1 year, more than 100 films were made. Like, I don't know the exact number. And I got this opportunity to watch more than 100 films. And unfortunately, we have, less than 20 films that are even worth, being mentioned or brought to the public attention. So I believe that, we still have a long way to go in terms of, the kind of films that we are making. And I'm not talking, only about the mainstream industry. I'm talking about, all the films that are being made. Right. Most people don't even watch them. I really don't know who they are making the films for, or, which target audience they have. When Mahesh said about how we are stuck in the films that are made in the 90s, actually we are still stuck there. A lot of films are still stuck there. They are influenced too much by the TV shows or, whatever that happened during those times. And, most of us are still stuck there. It's a sad state of affairs for me.
Okay, I'm going to have to, I'm going to come back to that. Before that, I'll just hear from Roshan and Darshana.
I was going to say earlier that I think Mahesh hadn't covered everything pretty well, because every time I've been asked this question about why suddenly once the OTT boom happened, Malayalam films are being watched as much as they are. I always thought that it's because we go as specific as we go. So the more specific you are, the more universal your story gets. And also over a period of time, I think the audiences here have, through their appreciation, sort of selected and let grow a lot of films which have been very genuine, very simple, not doing anything more than necessary, not saying anything more than necessary. Those kind of films are the ones which are, traveling us the farthest, I think, during the lockdown. It's the realistic film that's, very firmly set in one particular part of Kerala, with characters that you see out here on the roads, with a lot of characters being played by actors who have been picked from that particular area itself. Those are the films which have suddenly become so relatable to, an audience nationwide or maybe even outside the country. So I think while all the other genres exist, this one, which has stayed as true as possible to life out there, has attained that sort of relatability. So yeah, it's pretty much the same point that Mahesh made.
Darshana, could it also be, for example, when we are younger, we like to say, "Oh, I watch a lot of foreign films," like there's a certain coolness factor or a little exotic factor to kind of, sometimes we kind of do that. And do you think there is an aspect of that as well?
Oh, I feel like, so there are a bunch of, film people and we're all talking films. It's almost like you're almost, if you haven't watched Malayalam films in the last year, you're almost left out of a conversation. There are like 10 people going, gung-ho about, oh, Malayalam films, this, oh, Fahad Fasil, oh, that. And then, it's always, I feel like it is there. There is that sense of, it's become some sort of a fad, which is great for us, but it has happened over the last, I don't know if it's through the lockdown, but like even, so I did my college in Delhi and I have a set of friends who hadn't watched anything I've done for a really long time, but over the last 2 years, they've seen everything I've done and they know when things are coming out, they're up to date with everything that I'm doing, that my friends are doing, that, I think like all of them said, I think there's also a lot to do with how, for us or in the Malayalam industry, story has been the king. Like it's, so I feel like even like a film like Tingala is Mukyam, it's not like any of my friends watched it for a Fahad Fasil. They've actually watched it for the story, and and that's happening a lot.
Don, coming back to your point, why do you think the Malayalam film industry is still kind of stuck in that Bharat and Padmarajan kind of era? That's the sense that I got. Is that what you said?
Not really. What I meant is, like when we talk about Malayalam films, mostly we are talking about 10 or 20 films.
Right.
There are more than 100 films getting made in Kerala, and there are nobody even talks about them, and they are not worth being talked about most of the time. And that's also a part of the whole, when you talk about Malayalam film industry, we have to consider them also. People like Mahesh and Sanu and all, and Divish Potan, these people, they have made it big, and they are making films that are being discussed all over India. But but there are so many I don't know the right word to use there, like I feel like they are making fun of the audience from the beginning to the end. They fill it with music, and they use the techniques that were outdated even in the 80s or whenever. And but still, so many of them are being made in Kerala, and I don't know whether they even try to release them in theater or OTT at all.
No, I think that is a point that nobody can argue. I mean, any industry, the amount of bad films is always greater than the amount of good films. So I don't think that's something that anyone can argue. It's just that when you look at the good films in other industries, the good films in Malayalam seem to stand out in so many ways. That's what the general thing is. As
a collective, we still have a long way to go. That's all,
Yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to ask you. When you say long way to go, you're saying in terms of saying if I release 100 films, then I want 80 films to be good. Is that what you're saying in terms of numbers?
Yeah, at least 50. At least 50 films.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, which was your favorite film of 2021?
From the films that I watched in Kerala, Akariyam stood out really well, and it was and it is very rarely that you get to see someone discussing an ethical issue or ethical dilemma inside a character. That's very rare on screen, even in Malayalam films. When we talk about we are talking about so many films, but only once in a while. And Sanu, I think, was very courageous with the form also. the beginning shot itself, he established that, okay, I'm not going to conform to your idea about a mainstream film. I will keep it long. I will keep it still for a while, and he had a very clear vision, and how he executed and how it was all set in mostly in one place, and they didn't try to do too much with camera or with the characters or the conflict between them or anything. It was beautiful, and how the film entered was subtle also. So it was a beautiful film for me.
Mahesh is going to be very happy to hear that. Mahesh, which was your favorite film? Did you have time to watch anything, given that you were handling Malik for so long? Did you?
No. In the list itself, like, I have two of my films are there again. Like, apart from Malik, like, Arkarayam is edited by me, and then again,
just to interrupt you, I had for the audience, I had sent them a list of Malayalam films of the year. That's what he's talking about.
Nayattu is also in the list, so it's again. So we like. I think I've spent a lot of time with both these films, Nayat and. Malik is not that, like, Malik is supposed to be a old film. it's like, if it's this time, then I would have conceived it as a series. It's not as a feature. That's true. There are a lot of films. It's not only one film. Like,
right.
Even the anthology Anum Pendam, like, I like the Cherkanam Pendam thing, like the Ashik's version. It's very beautiful because I've read the story of Unni, and then when I'm watching it, I've got the essence of the character very well. Like, so, and since it's made as an anthology, it was perfect in that kind of a blend. I'm a huge fan of Wild Tales. So after that, I'm watching like one segment alone. Like, there has been an intrigue into that. Like, I know, I see, since I've read this, even when I've read the story, that it had that kind of a flow which kept in me how these characters are going to perform here, how the transformation is going to happen, how this is going to be exposed. Like, how even the bike itself was a great thing in that. Like, it was very relatable to me. And then Tinglaj and the shit, I can tell you, like, that's a surprise for me. I haven't seen because again, it's rooted to that particular space. And there are new talents coming up in that film. So it like, a film which is set with a lot of daily routines, and how it has been, like, how the entire character, like, I'm not going to put spoilers and all, because a lot of people have to watch the film, but that is the kind of originality what films need to be. Of course, I can't talk much about Nayat and Arkarayam because I am a part of those films, but still, Arkarayam stands a little above, since, because like, even from the draft itself, like, I've been telling Sanu, like, what are the reasons how. So Sanu was very consistent on this, saying that, okay, I am a person right now. I'm more than 50 years of age now, and now I have to make a film. It is not to satisfy the mainstream. I just want to make a film which just satisfy me. So it was a correct statement from his side, and that's how the film was made, and I'm so happy for that. And he was very disappointed when the mainstream run, the theatrical run, was not good for him. And then I was telling that from the beginning itself, like, it's a digital film, but apparently they couldn't get into that digital market in the beginning. But when it went out into the digital platform, like, then came in the reviews. So the point what Don raised there, like, like, I have a thing where, where I always believe that, like, we need certain mainstream I'll never mention that those as bad films, but mainstream crowd pulling, like, films to entertain people, so that that is the kind of a mix an industry should always have. See, otherwise what will happen, the industry will grow. Definitely industry will grow, but the problem what happens is that the kind of reception from the production perspective or the distribution perspective, like, if you take it to a platform provider also, they are also looking at figures, like, figures how it opened and all. So we need to show this balance. Okay, okay. So for an industry to coexist, I think a mix of these films is necessary. Is always necessary. Like what is the right way and all? I don't know. I still don't know. But still, I believe that there should be a mix. MT sir used to write both these films. Like I will tell you an example, simple example. Like still, Don will be offended because I'm quoting again from the 80s aspect of films.
No.
But the thing is, see, when he writes for Ivy Shashi, he writes for Ivy Shashi. When he writes for Bharadan, he writes for Bharadan. So that is the difference. See, this is again for Padmarajan also. When he writes for Ivy Shashi, it is that is the thing. So they believe that both these films should coexist together. Only then, only that industry will will get that kind of a momentum in going ahead.
Since you mentioned Tinkalaj Nishram, I wanted to just add to that point that like you mentioned the bike, even that wobbly table became a character,
True.
in the kitchen with they became almost like this metaphor thing that so which is not just a comedy where things are going bad at a wedding. There's also a lot of thought that's gone into the way the film has been made. Darshana?
It has to be Tinkalaj because, like he said, it was such a. I was expecting to like Joji and Arkaryam and Nayat. I was, excited about those films and looking forward to those films. But for me, Tinkalaj was so exciting because here are a bunch of people I've never seen before, and they were just so amazing. And there were so many moments in the film, and it was like, a territory that we haven't explored at all, or we haven't heard them speak this dialect, or we haven't heard it a lot, or so it's a story we've heard before. But it was also fresh. So the film was over, and I was super excited. I think I spoke to literally everyone involved with the project, just telling them how excited I was about watching it. So yeah, I think for me it was a Tinkalaj.
I think mine would be Arkaryam. I haven't watched some of the films in the list that you sent, though. Yeah. But I think Arkaryam for me was one film that I watched at home on the TV, which really transported me the way a movie watching experience in a theater would. And I think it has got to do with the pacing of it more than anything. I also watched it at a time when, with a really scattered mind at a particularly stressful time, and yet, as long as the film was playing, I was with the film. I wasn't thinking anything else. It was very calming. These are all very subjective, but I guess that's how it should be also, how you experience any film. So I think Arkaryam was my most favorite journey among all of these films. And if I can just name one performance also, that would be Manoj Siu, the actor who played the father in Tinkalaj Nishram, because that's a character that you've seen since the beginning of history. And he played it so originally. It was so fresh. He did things with that character that I haven't seen anyone else do. I was amazed by that.
Anna?
For me, Nayatu was this one film that stayed with me even after watching it, even over a week. I was still thinking about the film, still talking about the film. For me, that movie was so wholesome. Like in every aspect of cinema, it satisfied me. Be it the performance or the story and the politics it was discussing, or the making of the film, the direction, every aspect, the camera. It was so beautifully done. The music. I was in awe watching it, and I remember talking to my parents about it and talking to anyone who I came across. I just wanted to tell them to go watch this film. I was completely raving about it. And Arkaryam also is something that was so different, especially during that time where you're deprived of, a lot of things and entertainment, and you're frustrated and you're thinking of a lot of personal things about work and all that's not happening. And when you see a film like that, where it's set in the present time where people are facing certain situations and dealing with a lot of things about personal choices and decision making and all that stuff. So it was so refreshing to watch that kind of a film also. So I think these two films. And adding to what Maheshwaran said earlier, I really think that we need every kind of film in one industry, and I don't think one particular genre can flourish the entire industry. And frankly speaking, I think if we watch one kind of film, everyone's going to get bored at one point. We would want a different kind of film. And I personally enjoy all category of films. I love going to the theater to watch a big action film where there's a lot of music and dancing. At the same time, I like watching really deep-rooted, realistic cinema as well. So I think we always need a mixed bag of things to keep us entertained.
When you mentioned there's a Nayata, and you talked about you were fascinated by the politics of it. There was also one section of people that said that it was, it was anti-Dalit. And so, do you think these discussions also kind of help a film become more vital in public consciousness?
I think any kind of discussion after film is released is great for the film, be it good or bad. For Nayata, I think it's very subjective on what you receive from the film. The makers would want you to think in a certain way, and there's obviously a freedom of, how audience want to receive it as well. And I personally believe it was talking about the system and how flawed the system was, and I completely understood what they were going for also. And there were a number of discussions based on that. But I think that is how, art form is. Like, art is very subjective. Once you put it out there, then people receive it and they make interpretations and they find things that you've never even thought of, which is wonderful, I think. That's just how you reflect on the art. So I think that's a great discussion. Even for the film I Did, Saras, there was a number of discussions, be it good or bad, but I think that's the best part about doing such a film, that you get to see a lot of perspective and you can see the kind of audience that's receiving your film as well. So that, I think it's a great thing.
And another thing which kind of reflects what Mahesh was saying is there's a lot of people on the Malayali audience on Twitter, because the people outside get to see mainly the OTT films that are subtitled and presented a certain way, and they have a certain star cast and we are familiar with them and all that. But the average for example, I've heard such great things about Janeman, that it's such a funny film, and it's so it's drawing in crowds and all that kind of stuff. Malayali film Twitter, a lot of them are saying that we miss that entertainment that a film used to give, because now all films are following a certain model of, maybe, I don't know, to just randomly name a film like Kumbalangi Nights or Undi Muthalam Dakshakshiyam or whatever it is. So it's like, it's not that these films are bad, it's just that sometimes we need a mood to go and sit in these films, but sometimes it's also nice to kind of go and that used to happen a lot in Malayalam, but now that's kind of dried up. What would you have to say to that? That's the exact opposite of what some of you are saying.
I've personally actually been going through a phase where I've realized that somewhere along the way, among the films that I watched and really liked, which involved a lot of the names that we just spoke about and the two films that you mentioned, somewhere in my head, I decided that those are the good films and those are the ones that I want to do. So I started striving towards working with those people, working in films of that kind. Even how you pitch your performance, I guess, in a way, because there's always this conversation that happened. I came in from theater. And the most common question that I started getting when I started doing films was, oh, how different is it to do a film? Because you've been doing plays, everything is so loud and so exaggerated, right? So how do you tone it down for a film? And I used to get really frustrated, always trying to explain, no, that's not how things are in plays. There are different kinds of plays. Unfortunately, the most popular genre is the loud, exaggerated one. That's because of reasons as simple as there are no good auditoriums or no good performance spaces in this country. So you're usually performing at a space where someone's sitting so far away from you, and you have to be really loud with your volume and with your expression. So those are the plays that get watched more often. So now everybody thinks that those are the only kind of plays. So I used to go on stressing that there are different kinds of plays that exist, and the same thing is true with films, right? But somewhere along the way, in the last couple of years especially, I had gotten to a space where I thought, this is the only kind of film, this is the supreme format, this is what I want to do. So much that I started the meter of performance or whatever in a film that did not exactly fit in that category would also be that. And you're trying to drag a film in one particular direction when the film isn't supposed to go there at all. And somewhere along the way, I realized that I was judging every other kind of film or every other kind of performance. Only the really minimal, really subtle, really realistic performance would work for me. So I've actually honestly been trying to change that. In fact, Anna and I just did a film which is completely different from what both of us have done in the last couple of years. And I've been trying to sort of submit to what the film requires rather than what I think is a good kind of performance. It's very important to realize that these are all films, and like, if I could just add one more thing, there was a conversation that I had back in 2014 when I was living in Bombay. My roommate and I had Ganga Didi, who used to come and make rajma chawal for us and clean our house, and she was very, very sweet lady. So one day she came and she said she'd been to the movies, and she named one particular commercial Hindi film, big superstar, and I did not like the film. So after she left, I told my roommate that, isn't it really sad that these are the films that people are watching? And she said she had a good time. It's so irresponsible that these are the films that we are giving to our audience. And my roommate told me, you have no right to say that. You have no right to deny someone else their film. She watches a film for entertainment or for an escape from her particular reality. That is what she wants, and she deserves access to that. You can't sit on a high horse and say that these are the only kind of films which should reach the society. Yeah, of course, it's up to you whether you want to acknowledge the fact that there is a certain responsibility you have when you are involved in something like films, and when you're putting out something that has as wide a reach as movies do. Then what exactly are you feeding your audience? Fine, it's great if you realize that responsibility. But we need all kinds of films, and we, as actors, we also need to be able to perform in all kinds of films.
And I'm glad you said that, because that kind of was a question I was going to come to later, whether actors like you and Anna and Darshana are in danger of being, I don't want to use the word typecast, but being seen as a particular kind of, they act in a particular kind of film. They're not going to act in one really massy kind of film. Darshana, do you worry about that sometimes, that the people who approach you, I mean, there may be a massive filmmaker who wants you, but then he or she might not want, like, oh, she only acts in that kind of film. Is that something that you think about?
I hadn't actually thought too much about it, but it is true. Like, everything I have been getting over every time I go in for a narration or a script reading, I know I'm going to be disturbed, because most often this girl is in some traumatic thing that she's surviving somehow, and so I'm always so troubled after a narration. I don't hear I very rarely hear the happy, she's smiling, she's in college and having fun. So for me, when I heard Hridayam, I was just like, I took a while to picture myself in that world, because I'm just like, but I've only been in hospitals and, kidnapped or, catching a disease. Are you sure I can be this person? Because I enjoy doing that. Like, I'm very comfortable being, a troubled girl. But when I saw, like you said, Johnny, when I saw it, and I had such a great time. I went with a bunch of friends, and it was a party, and I would love to do films like that as well, and I rarely get them. So now I think after staying with them and me being happy and in love, I feel like I'm getting a few more of these not traumatic stories, and I'm very excited about it, because for me, it's only a film like Hridayam. For me, was such a different world, and I started doing.
That's the film
theater.
That you're doing with Pranav Mohanlal, right? That's the
yeah. And for me, like, when I started doing theater, I didn't know what I was looking to do, or I was just exploring the space, and my way of doing or learning what was just put myself in different kinds of, with working with different theater groups, working with very different directors, and seeing what I belong to or what I fit into. And that's how I started doing theater. And with films, I think I have occupied somewhat of a similar space until now. And it was really exciting for me to occupy a very different space. And I know that a part of like the actor in me, which was also this, which hadn't been explored for a long time, I got a chance to do that. And I would really like to do, all kinds of things. I'm glad that it's slowly opening up that way for me.
Now, Dawn, the reason I invited you to this is, of course, I'm a fan, you know that, but also because you're a kind of a counterbalance to the mainstream, or what Mahesh called the midstream. You occupy a slightly left of stream kind of space. I've only seen your films in festivals or as a screener at home. How does this ecosystem operate?
Yeah. The major challenge that I have been facing is with distribution so far. But I can't blame the system, because it is it has been working in certain ways for a while, and when you have already decided that you have chosen a different path, you can't complain or say that, oh, they are not accepting me, mine is superior or anything like that. So that's the reason why I have been choosing to do low budget films, which to reduce the impact of the loss, at least when it comes to after making a personal film like 1956 Central Travancore. But with Santosh Tendulkar also, like when you have decided to make a film that is, totally different from the mainstream format that the audience are used to, still, you are trying to reduce the impact. But, at the same time, you get to play with the form in a creative way. So, those are the things that I've been doing. But I just wanted to add one point to the, what I was talking earlier. And I feel like, it didn't get communicated properly. My issue is not with the diversity in films. I'm someone who is happy when a film like Surely comes out. And I'm someone who really appreciates a film like Joji, so, and it was for me actually, when I watched Joji on mini screen for the first time, I was so surprised, for me, I felt like, oh, this film should have been shown on a big screen. It is shot in wide angles and all, and it is, it's a film that fits the big screen. The films that I have been criticizing or really harsh about are the films where there is no effort put in, or there's no respect to the audience, and none of them makes the list that you gave us. Probably most of us haven't, most of you haven't even seen those films, and I got this opportunity to watch. And even realize that there were so many films made in Kerala only by being part of the IFFK selection committee. There, I go to watch all these films, and then I was like, this much, this many trash is made in Kerala. I didn't know. I always thought so high of Malayalam films, and but this is the reality. So that's the. Yeah, the lack of respect for the audience is my major concern. But it's not about personal taste. For me, I wouldn't, I would have only a bunch of films that I personally like. But like Roshan said, that doesn't allow you to reduce the experience of another person. Like they also need their cup of coffee. I feel like it's a scam that these films are being made. They just, or they are not putting enough effort into the process of making a good film.
Right. But don't you think that, and this is a question to everyone, please pitch in. Don't you think that there is a bit of an ethical dilemma in that, because how do you decide then that this film deserves to be made or this film does not deserve to be made? I mean, it is not possible for anyone to say this film should not be made, right? It's like, what is that something that's even possible to consider?
Or also, how do you decide? Okay, this is enough, or this is enough to where do you draw the line of okay, this is enough, I have to put only this much effort? Because these days, you can make a film on mobile camera. It's possible, everyone can make a movie. So that's a good thing, and I think it's the films getting democratized is a good thing. At the same time, like along with that, as a side product, you get too much trash also. So so there should be a proper review system, some kind of a regulatory system in the middle, like festivals, like theater distribution, like these all work as different agents, but I think there should be something more, and as filmmakers we should understand that process more. Right? It is not about competing for more money or competing for more prestige or fame. It is, okay, we can make this happen. So, we will just make whatever and not worrying about the quality of the product.
Mahesh, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, you see, I think it's a democratic space, where everybody should make their own, it's, end of the day, it's personal vision. Like we can't change the sensibility of the particular filmmaker. Like, that is on the kind of cinema he's been watching or the kind of books he's been reading, he or she has been reading, or what the particular filmmaker is coming from, the kind of education what he's gone through. So there are a lot of factors. I don't because this is happening in every industry. It is not like when I see when we talk about Iranian cinema, there are a lot of very action-packed commercial stuff also happening in Iran that we are not aware about.
Yeah.
So that is everywhere. It is not only about Malayalam. It is, take for example, there was a time when Marathi cinema was having a great boom, and that at that point there were also very commercial, like hardcore commercial films made in Marathi. It is an individual's decision, right? Whether they should make a film, because end of the day it's a way of living for a lot of people. Like
right.
It's a business. These the kind of films will always, like every kind of films will always happen here. Like I'm not against that kind of a zone. Only thing is that the kind of, say, if only one set of films are only coming from a certain industry. Take for example, if it's a if we are always aiming at a 100 crore or a 150 crore or 200 crore area, then the sensibility of audience, we are just challenging them. Like we are just playing with them. It need not be there. Like there should be a kind of a bandwidth where we should have this and we should have the other side. So that's the balance. So. And we can't, as Don said, see, regulatory board and all, like we are now in a situation where, we are against the censor board itself. Like, why should we need a board to categorize our films and saying that, okay, what this, you can't say this, you can't say that. Still, we are fighting that. So again, we are trying to make a regulatory board on how the films are being made. Like, we are not, like, it's not a film school we are running. it is apparently an industry where, where we need, like, it's like, I like, I'm just thinking about like how Don said, like, in film school, there is a committee when we go and submit a script and our HODs or the department heads should approve it. And then only we will get assigned such kind of a budget, and then we'll go ahead and then make a film. So, so it's not that anyway. Like, it's a place where where art has to be done. Art in the sense, like, for us it will be art. For some it will be like money making exercise. For some others it's some other kind of exercise what they're doing. hey, they can practice it anyway.
Roshan, Kurupa is out and it had a wide release and it's done really, really well. We're recording this interview in late November because of logistical reasons. So we are anticipating this other mammoth movie called Marakke, which is just going to land up on in Kerala shores and other shows as well. Now, there were some people who were saying that they were predicting the end of theaters when the OTT boom began and kind of a thing. But I think just the way Kurup has been received, despite the mixed reviews, shows that people just want to go out there and watch a movie. How do you feel this works? Do you feel that this is going to happen only with the movies of stars, or will this also slowly percolate down to any good movie that's released like it was before the pandemic?
Specifically in Kerala, I definitely think any good movie, because we were speaking about Janeman earlier. Janeman's doing really well in the theatre.
Right.
I don't think it's particularly a movie that requires a theatre purely based on scale. Movie watching is an experience that's very integral to our culture, and anything that's good, an audience in Malayalam has always appreciated. For that matter, I started getting work in this industry after a movie called Anandam did really well. It was a film that was produced by Vineet Srinivasan, but that was the only name that was recognized by anyone. It was 7 of us newcomers, a first time director. The cinematographer had done 2 films before that. So if there's a good movie, I feel like somehow people do trickle into the theaters here, and that was always going to be the case. It was just about when the theaters would reopen. People have been predicting the death of theater as an art form also for a really long time, but it's not going to happen. There will always be life in these things. It'll keep happening. Obviously, there are some films which I guess would now probably consider, hey, do we need to go for a theatrical release, or would it be sufficient to put this film out on an OTT platform, or would that make more sense? Maybe that's something that people would consider. But otherwise, no, people will always watch good movies in theaters here in Kerala.
Anna?
I think we're definitely going to coexist with theaters and OTT, because this is a big blessing actually that we have 2 platforms where I think for people from the industry, we have a choice whether we want to make a film particularly focused on OTT or we want a theater release. And I think that's a wonderful thing, because before OTT, there was a sense of fear that a particular kind of film might not work. So for that reason, along that I will not make this film. So, but right now I think that has changed. So, and definitely theaters are going to run, and we are all social beings and we want to be out there in a larger mass and watch a film and, cheer together and clap together. And that's always been a culture. And I don't think that's ever going to go at all.
Let me put a hypothetical question to you and to Darshana and Roshan. Do you think a movie like Saras would do well today, like now that theaters are open again, kind of thing? Just off the top of your head.
So when Saras came to me, the director, the first thing he told me was that he wants to make it as an OTT film. That's the first thing that he said. Because like all of us, this was during the peak pandemic time where everybody just wanted to get out there and do something. And so he came to me saying that he really wanted to make a bigger film, but he couldn't. And this is with all the restrictions that we shot during the lockdown, and we had to be in a bubble and we couldn't even get out of the space that we were in. So he said that we're going to have a lot of limitations. So we're going to focus this on OTT. And so that's the approach that I got. So probably if Saras were supposed to be in theaters, making in a lot of things would have been probably different in a maker's point of view. But as a subject, I definitely think, be it in theaters or otherwise, that film would work.
I used to think a lot about how a film like See You Soon, how it would have been if it was out of the theaters. It was such an intimate film, and there were people watching us have phone conversations on the phone, and I actually don't know, but I know that I went to the theaters twice over the last ever since theaters have opened in Canada, and I feel like that the buzz is back. It's just been very exciting. Like Janiman was had very few people in the. I went to the first day first show, and there were very few people in the audience, and I could see a film like that started off with, again, there are people aren't coming with like expectations of this, to be blown, or to, they just come, and through the film it just suddenly changed. Like by the end of it, people are clapping. There were like these many people, but all of them were just watching this thing together and having a great time together. People were cheering. There was like a fan following because Basin was around, and so yeah, and then I've been hearing how Janiman over the course of this week, or the last, from when it's released, how it's been full, and it's been drawing people from everywhere, and families and kids, and everyone's in the theater. So I really think that good films will be watched on OTT and in the theaters.
I think this roundtable has turned out to be a promotion interview for Janiman. I think they'll be very happy with us.
Yeah.
we should get them. We should get them to sponsor us. This. Mahesh, how tough was it, a decision to let Malik go to OTT? I know that happened because of certain reasons, but looking back today, do you feel that was because that was one of the big movies of the year? Do you think that you made the right choice, or not you as in you, but everybody concerned with the movie made the right choice?
The film was ready before the pandemic, so it was made for theaters. So certainly it was made for theaters, and I've said it multiple times to you. So the thing is, sound department, the VFX department, everybody, they all felt, the sound alone, they were actually crying, because they said, telling me, we did a lot of things in this film, and what to do now? We are just giving it for a stereo mix. What to do now? I said, okay, that's fine. But apparently the problem is how to keep it for a longer time. I still feel that for a commercial cinema, I still believe in that midstream. Okay, whether my film fits in the midstream and all, I don't know. But I believe that there is a certain expiry date for a film because of the kind of content we are used to. We are the longevity of a film. How it it will only travel for a few days for us. Even when I'm looking back at Malik. After we were doing the post and everything, after See You Soon, even after Arkariyam for Sanu, and even midway a shoot of Malayan Munya. So then, when we looking back, we felt that okay, now this has to be released, man. Let it go, because otherwise we will feel that okay, we don't never get a date itself. We don't know. It's very uncertain, and at that moment. Actually, it has to be the thanks card for Malik has to be given to See You Soon first, because it all happened because of that film. Otherwise, because I know how the distribution function. That's what Don was mentioning about how he's facing those big challenge with the distribution. I know the figures what the platform were quoting when it happened with See You Soon. And I know the figures with Malik, it's the same team. But the film is a bigger film. I understand that. But still, how we could cover the cost with the digital pricing alone. So that itself is a great thing, because I don't want the producer to lose money, because that is a big problem what we always face, right? End of the day, a producer has made a film for theaters and he's waiting, and there's a lot of money, struggling with interest and everything. And I don't know, how after a point, we should get him some kind of a deal so that make it happen. Right. It's a sacrifice. I know that it's a sacrifice. End of the day, people are watching it in any format. So that's a good thing. So the best thing what has happened because of the digital thing is that pricing is also getting high now with Marikkar, even with Kurup. even if it's a second window, the pricing will also go high, and because it's worked well in theaters.
Correct.
Definitely it will go high, and now I'm thinking that now there will be a stage where for mainstream cinema, where when we take it to distribution levels for overseas or for outside Kerala, the rates will be slightly higher, because now people know that okay, there is an industry like this, and now we can actually bargain, and we can actually argue, saying that okay, now our films are being accepted widely in digital platforms. Now we need more kind of in terms of money. So that is anyway happening. But in terms of Malik, I have been we have been thinking why we let it go for digital, but I'm happy for that. I'm not a person who's not because it has to happen at that right time.
Right. I'm just curious to know what you call midstream. I remember you talking a lot about you loved Milestone, Meel Patthar, which you saw.
Yeah.
Would you call that midstream?
No, it's a parallel stream.
That's a parallel stream.
That's a parallel stream film. Like I am telling the midstream, the kind of films what Dileesh is making.
Right.
That is
I know.
Yeah, and even Martin is trying. I often believe that in a set of if I'm catering a film to a theater where 1,000 people are watching, and at least 100 of them should like my film. Like otherwise, what is that is the thing. There should be in the sense they should take something back from my film.
Again, a question for all of you: Do you think that the OTT space is also kind of causing a certain kind of film to be made over others?
No, I don't think so, because let me explain it properly. Take a film like JB. I think it's a content which will work anywhere.
Right.
Even if it's in theater or in digital, it will work, because it has got that is what the emotional values are very perfect in that, and and perfect in the sense it is catered for a set of audience, and
right.
It's made well in that space. I'm feeling it more problematic doing films for digital space. Why, Bharadwaj, why it's because people have this new. I've told this in many interviews. They're always watching with a remote or a mouse. Because they have another kind of a device in their hand, where sometimes they don't want to watch a particular sequence. Then they can skip it. They can forward, or they can or something they didn't understand. They can pause it, go back, rewind, and then play. This happened actually. People used to tell me oh, we couldn't watch it, so it's about reading a book.
Yeah,
we can actually skip a few pages and then go back, and
it's changed the whole art form actually.
Yeah. So I'm more into that zone where I'm really looking for this metaverse to come. And I'm looking for how cinema is going to transform with metaverse,
right?
Because it is the new world of internet, and internet will be termed as that. And now how this interactive cinema is going to change the entire viewing experience, or aesthetic experience, or the culture, the movie going culture. It's more like teleporting. So I'm just curious.
Don, your films were released on Mubi recently. What is your reaction to this kind of the fact that someone can start a movie, pause it, resume it the next day? Are you one of those people who says, I'm happy they saw the film, or do you want them to see it the way you wanted them to see it?
For me, it doesn't lie in the binaries or of whether I like it or not. That's ideally I would want people to sit in the theater and watch it. Then again, with everything or how the system works, your film gets released in an OTT platform. So then you would ideally want people to watch it without pausing when it's especially when it's a single take or a long take. You don't want the audience to decide where to cut the film. But then again, you don't have that option either. So you have to find a middle path where you have to agree to whether they're watching it at all, or whether they're not watching it at all, or they're watching it with pausing or on their mobile or whatever. As a viewer, I'm someone who has watched most of the international films on my laptop. So for me, it's better than not watching them at all. So that's something I would prefer.
So for Roshan, Darshana, and Anna, when you have this kind of, I remember, I'm not going to name this 80s actor. He/she said that I'm giving my heart out and acting, and I'm pulling out my soul and I'm doing this, and I don't want it to be watched by people when somebody is saying, "Arey, get me another roti or ek aur roti lao," or like somebody just ringing the doorbell or something like that, because my soul would get crushed if all that effort I knew was getting that I'm putting into that scene is like let's take one of Darshana's famous traumatized scenes. So, she's putting in all that effort, and she's that somebody's just freezing it right there in the middle of your trauma. And then, what do you guys think about that?
I think Darshana should go first.
For me, when we do theater, people walking in and out of the theater, when you're on stage, it's I think a lot of actors are used to it, and for me it was always just because we've worked for 3 months on that scene, and the audience, you've just taken away the audience because you decided to leave. So I used to get really so when I brought my friends for shows, and I'll be like, turn off your phones, you better not leave. I used to give them these. I'm happy that they'll pause while I'm crying and then come back and watch the whole scene. I'm just glad that friends of mine, so that all of my friends are so excited. Like I told you, the Delhi friends who have not watched most of my stuff are now catching up on everything I've done. And one time they called me for a Zoom thing, and they're screen sharing and watching my film together. I was like, oh my God, please don't do that. But I was part of it. It was an event, and I said, okay, fine. I guess this is how you guys are to watch it. I guess I'm happy you guys are watching it. So yeah, I think it's beyond. I'm just glad that people are watching the work that I do.
Anna?
Of course, as actors, we want the audience to watch and really appreciate the hard work we are putting into it. But that's the only thing we can do is request them. It's up to the audience how they want to watch certain films. And I think for me personally, after the film is done and after I've done what I could, there's a level of detachment that I have for the work that I've done. So that, people can be the judge. They can decide how they want to watch it, what they want to say about it. And I think that has kept my sanity intact. Or else I think it would be very difficult, even not just actors, I believe, even for directors and writers, I've seen, I've had the discussion with my father when he writes a certain film and then he put it out there, and there are some scenes that he really loved, but probably with whatever is happening, they might have to take it out, or they have to cut a certain character out, and that might probably be his personal favorite, but so then you'll have to develop a sense of detachment from your art so that you as a whole project that you can put it out there. So I think that's how I look at it, or else it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, actually what you said is a bit of what both Don and Mahesh said, because the audience turn into the controllers of the film, the makers of the film in a way, because like Mahesh uses this beautiful thing, like when the audience is editing the film in a way, because they are kind of deciding how long the shot should go on, how long the because of where they pause or where they stop. So that's kind of I know it's not in your hands. I just wanted to know what you felt about it. So thank you for saying that. Roshan.
Yeah, I still don't have that level of detachment that Anna speaks about. I would really love to. because it does hurt, definitely, because it's something so valuable to you. It's your baby. But I think the logical part of my brain is also still extremely grateful that there is an audience watching it in the first place. We only exist, or our work only exists when somebody watches it, right? I'm still struggling to believe in a way that I'm getting to do movies and I'm getting to work with people that I find as inspiring as I do. So I'm grateful enough for all of that to be okay with this. But yeah, it does hurt a little bit.
So finally, what is the film that each one of you is looking forward to in the year ahead?
Hero, Asghar Farhadi.
I'm not letting you go with that. You have to name a Malayalam movie.
Okay, so I'm waiting for Lijo's next film. Lijo's next.
Anna?
I actually I want to watch Pushpa real badly because I love the hype that it's been, having, and I love that kind of a film where you go to the theater so excited and celebrate it. There are tons of films coming up. Hridayam is one film that I've been waiting to watch, and I've spoken to Vineethan since day one of them sitting together, the pre-production, and I've heard the songs before, and it's beautiful. So I'm looking forward to that for sure.
I'm really excited about Minnal Murali. I feel like, it feels like such an exciting move for cinema, for Malayalam cinema, and I'm working with Tovino and Basil currently, and we have been tripping on the songs. We've been listening to stories from shoot, and they had such an eventful shoot, and just stories from that I've just been really excited about. So yeah, I think I've been posting more about Minnal Murali than about my film. So I guess I will go for Minnal, yeah.
But that's pretty, isn't that coming out in December?
Yeah.
The
So
question
anything-
was the next. It's coming. Oh, next year. Okay.
Oh shit. Both of the films I had thought about are also coming out in this.
Actually, Minnal Murali and Naradan are two films that I'm waiting to watch, especially Tovino, because he's done some brilliant work in both those films, and I'm so excited for him actually. So yeah, that too.
Yeah. Okay, let's cheat and include December. So cool.
Yeah. Now on.
So done.
Nothing that I can think about, like I'm anticipating to watch anything like that. But I'm really curious about, how the reaction of the audience would be for a couple of films that I have already watched and they are not released yet. I would name one film especially, which is Avasa Vyuham by Krishan is the filmmaker's name. It's a very interesting film I found, and a very and a genre-bending film also. So I'm really curious about what the audience would react like.
Nice. And Roshan?
I think Thorumugam and Malayangunya for the people involved, Minnal Murali because it's a different kind of film, touching upon what I said earlier. So I'm very excited to see how that works out. Then I watched this trailer for an English film called Humans. I don't know when I'll get to watch it, where I'll find it. But rewatched that trailer enough times to know that I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. Actually, I think that's one thing, that problem that most of us are facing is that I have this big stack of, if you look at my Netflix queue or my Amazon queue or whatever it is, it's like, I don't know when I'm going to finish that. Because, earlier you used to buy, I used to buy DVDs from those, we used to get those pirated English foreign DVDs, right? And then because that's the only way you could watch your those kinds of films. And so you used to buy them and keep them. And the stack would just be growing, and sometimes you'd be like, "Oh my God, I need to get through the stack before I buy new stuff." That's what's happening now in a different way, because before I can finish the stuff that I want to watch, you guys are putting out new stuff. But that's all good. So thank you so much for participating in this roundtable. It's really great to have spoken to all of you, and I hope you have a great New Year and a wonderful, wonderful 2022.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Lovely being here.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
nice meeting you.
Bye, guys. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.